But first, after Peter Dutton's second meeting with the government's Indigenous working group on The Voice yesterday, he had this warning for the Prime Minister this morning.
I think The Voice is not going to get up. I don't think it's going to be successful, and that's because the Prime Minister's had this half-hearted effort in relation to just not explaining the detail, not being across the detail. The Prime Minister's making a conscious decision to withhold that information.
Well, this week's poll still showed majority support for The Voice, albeit declining. In some states, support is already below 50%. Now, as you know, to succeed, a referendum has to win both a majority of votes and a majority of states. Almost everyone's happy to see Indigenous people recognised in the Constitution. But Australians are fast waking up that this voice is so much more than that. As things stand, and without all the detail that the opposition leader is seeking, this voice is a Trojan horse in the heart of our Constitution that would create either a third chamber of the Parliament, as Malcolm Turnbull once claimed, or a fourth arm of government, in addition to the existing legislative, executive and judicial arms, or a kind of collective seventh state, a series of Aboriginal states within states claiming sovereignty and co-governance, as we're seeing evolve disastrously in New Zealand. In the Australian newspaper today, it's also reported that the PM's Indigenous working group is divided about his own Gama proposal, which is that The Voice would make representations both to the Parliament and the executive government, because we're told that would increase the likelihood of judicial rulings on whether the government has adequately given consideration to the views of The Voice, thus further taking responsibility away from our elected Parliament and elected officials and giving it to unelected and unaccountable judges. Now, given the importance of reconciliation, a Prime Minister who really wanted to unite the country and who was starting to realise his voice was floundering, as badly as this one is, well, he would reconsider the whole project. If there's a good chance The Voice would be defeated, it should not be put up for a vote, especially if the PM really believes that defeat would make us an international pariah and set back the cause of reconciliation, which, until his Voice madness, had received a lot of public goodwill and bipartisanship for decades. But to many of its proponents, The Voice is less about reconciliation and more about radically remaking Australia. And if its defeat can be blamed on a supposedly racist coalition, well, they win either way. They either get up a radical voice model that divides Australia, or they use the defeat to attack the centre-right of politics. Instead of genuine bipartisanship here, where the opposition would be invited to perhaps co-design a voice that Labor would sit down at the table and they'd do it together, the government's already engaging in moral blackmail. And further attempts to browbeat the Australian public into supporting it on a vibe, rather than, like adults, we get the detail, is shameful. The latest sign of just how one-sided and unfair Labor wants this debate to be is Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, in his refusal to deny he's planning to spend taxpayer funds to have an ad campaign in Victoria for the Yes vote. Federal Labor has already given tax deductibility to the Yes campaign, but not the No campaign. And it's got a big pro-voice ad campaign underway with the so-called guise of public information. Now you've got State Labor in Victoria considering funding a Yes case, but not a No case too, via this Daniel Andrews ad campaign, in a state, I might add, that's already drowning in debt. Notwithstanding too all the woke public companies running staff seminars where only one side of the argument on this constitutional change is being presented. Is this what our democracy is coming to? If you'd like to even the score by donating to the No campaign, or you just want more information to better understand what's at stake, please have a look at this website. It's just been launched and it involves Jacinta Price. www.fairaustralia.com.au